This is your church. This is your house of worship. First St. Andrews United. But look, First St. Andrews is a beehive, busy worshiping and serving God through community, youth, education, recreation, charitable and other necessary and worthwhile activities. It's worth remembering every day, every week, all through the year, your church is a very busy place, much more than a place of worship. Are you in the picture? Take a closer look. 85 active boys using First St. Andrews and living while learning basics of good citizenship. A good way and a good place for a boy to spend his time. Our future United Church women, over 55 girls, take advantage of facilities offered by First St. Andrews. Sundays, while you worship, over 90 First St. Andrews members, dedicated and understanding volunteers, supervise and instruct upwards of 500 of our children who are enrolled in the Sunday church school and the nursery. And, more important, under this good First St. Andrews influence, their only church connection, over 100 boys from the downtown core area use your gym to enjoy such games as basketball and floor hockey. Someday, perhaps, we will welcome some of these boys as members of First St. Andrews United Church. The senior choir and the junior choir, over 100 members, meeting several times weekly so that you and many others may enjoy better than 3,000 enjoyed 5 performances of Noah's Flood, presented by First St. Andrews Mass Choir, over 100 voices, including 77 of your children.
Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. This is a true saying, and worthy of all acceptation, that Jesus Christ came into the world to save sinners. If any man sin, we have
It takes 7 full days each and every week to effectively minister to more than 2,350 members of your church, First St. Andrew's Church. Your employees, 7 full-time, 1 part-time, work hard so that First St. Andrews continually presents us with a picture of peace and beauty. And more. Usage of the many facilities offered by the First St. Andrews needs a lot of administration and organization. The countless details of church business must receive proper attention.
Give thanks unto thee, O Holy Lord, Father Almighty, everlasting God, who didst create the heavens and the earth.
The elders,
in them is,
the Board of
who
Stewards,
didst make man thine own
must act on your charge to attend to the affairs of First St. Andrews, and are supported by the devoted efforts of the United Church Women. Yes, looking after First St. Andrews is a big job. Your concern about others is a charge to these dedicated individuals to see your pledge is collected and shared with home missions and church extension. World Mission,
make man in thine own image, and whose tender
You.
mercies are over all thy works.
Serving God.
Therefore, with angels and archangels, and with all the company of heaven, we laud and magnify thy
Serving all.
glorious name, evermore praising thee and saying,
We've been looking at the church for the last few minutes, trying to see what the church is. Certainly it includes this building. We take great pride in that. It stands right at the geographical center of this great city. Sometimes we lift our eyes to the skyline of London and we identify its soaring spire. No bride could ask for a more beautiful setting for her great day, and no worshiper could ask for more conducive surroundings to lift his spirit as he comes to worship, because we find here such exquisite beauty. Stained glass windows telling the gospel story, and the many symbols in the furniture and on the ceiling, which recall to us the mighty acts of God in Jesus Christ. We love the cathedral-like lines of First St. Andrew's Church, covered with vines, surrounded by a carpet of grass, and guarded by these towering trees around us. When you take visitors around the city, I'm sure you slow up alongside here on Queens Avenue or Waterloo Street and point with some pride to this church and say, that's First St. Andrew's. That's my church. Yes, it's quite a building, and it's been here for 100 years. And because of that fact, it becomes pretty expensive for us. Now, the sanctuary, which has been shabbied over these past several years, has a new, fresh look. And our limping old organ, which was born way back in the 1880s, is about to be replaced. And this costs us, to be sure. And our efficient board of stewards tells me that the weather-beaten roof up there is finding rain and snow too much for it now and has to retire. And that will cost us plenty, too. And it won't be too many years before our church hall will need a facelifting. So this old building, which we love and of which we're so proud, eats up the dollars. And I'm glad that here in First St. Andrew's you take a wholesome, mature approach to that. You appreciate frank, unapologetic talk about the bills that have to be paid. We don't have any time around here to be cute and subtle about money or pretend that giving is painless. We certainly don't think about money as an embarrassing adjunct to our church life. So we've been looking at the church. In some ways, it's like a club, but so much more than that. In other ways, like a social agency, but more than that. In some ways, an audience, but more a worshiping people. In some ways, a problem-solving clinic, but so much more. A society for moral culture, yes, but again, infinitely more than that. The church includes all of this, but it's bigger than each and all of them. The definition I like best is a redemptive fellowship. As Paul said long ago, we are members one of another. We're a community of believers drawn together through a common and mutual loyalty to Christ. And so in a very real sense, there must be something of the ghetto mentality about the church, celebrating together what God has done in Christ for us and for all men. A caring, sharing society, ministering to each other and to men and women from the London Rescue Mission to the poor in Hong Kong. In its domestic life and in its social life, the church must be a redemptive fellowship. That's what the church is all about. We are members one of another. Not just living from others, we take that as read, but living for others. Oh yes, the building is important, but we go far beyond that. I think of the congregation drawn from all over the city and outside the city too. How many question marks hover over people's minds? How many muted sighs? How many unuttered needs? Teenagers confused by sex and all the problems which are confronting them. A young mother with a marriage growing cold. A man struggling with his conscience over the demands and temptations of his particular business. A young couple ready to throw aside Christian convictions because it's too much of an intellectual struggle. An elderly person with a growing sense of worthlessness. The broken and the strained relationships and feelings of self-doubt and inadequacy. Some people perhaps even on the verge of cracking up. Let us beware that the task of maintaining the physical structure becomes more important than the needs of persons and what happens to them. Our main concern should be living for others. I'm not so much concerned about reaching that $180,000 goal for each of the next 2 years. I'm confident that we have the resources to do that. But have we got the will and the imagination and the courage and the personal commitment to realize and to fulfill our basic nature as a redemptive fellowship? That is the great question. And you know, one cannot organize that kind of thing by programs or schedules. It organizes us. It is created as we open ourselves to what we know of Jesus Christ and open ourselves also to each other and to the needs of men.